I know. You're telling me right now, Kasra, you brought up the topic of $1 million. Nobody was talking about $1 million. I know. I'm just saying, you need to scale it a bit. You keep writing, but you always wish that there was somebody who can give you feedback on the writing pieces that you write. Well, here it is. Welcome to IELTS Juice. We're going to assess an essay today, and we're going to give comments and feedback, and you can see firsthand how it is scored. So join us. The essay rubric says, success is often measured in wealth and material belongings. So we have an element, the topic is success, and we want to say that it's not limited to wealth, nor is it limited to material belongings. So what is it measured on then, or measured with then? Does wealth measure success? That's a good question. That's the exact question we want to answer. Can you measure somebody's success by looking at their bank account? And if they have $1 million in their bank account, you assume they are successful? Yes or no? What makes a successful person? That's a very good question. So we are going to talk about the individual. And we want to know if an individual is successful when, and then you're going to come up with certain criteria. This is a fascinating topic. I would love to see what the writer has prepared for us. So, without further ado, let's look at the response. Being wealthy is considered by many people to be one of the most important factors which determines, because it goes back to success, being wealthy, sorry, determines success. Oh, that's good. That's basically the paraphrase of the rubric. It's the same question that we just read, but in different words. In my opinion, it is possible for people to be successful without being wealthy, and there are other aspects which play a significant role towards success. I am not sure this word has yet entered reputable dictionaries. I'm not sure. You can Google it and probably you will receive a definition, something like the state of being successful. Yeah, but we're English learners. English is not our mother tongue. It's not our L1, our first language. So we need to be very careful. We are not allowed to come up with risky words, or we cannot, or some words that they don't exist. You know, I have seen many, not many, but some learners coin words because it makes sense in their own language and in their own background. They just coin it. And they think that it's the same, it's universally correct, and you can apply the same logic from their own language onto the English language. That doesn't work. Just be careful. Always consult a reputable dictionary. I'll put a link for the good dictionaries you can have in the description below, okay? Check that out. Now, I have a little issue with this sentence because this is technically called the thesis statement. The thesis statement is the writer's opinion. And the writer is going to first say, without being wealthy, you can still be successful. You can still be considered successful. So that is the first question, this one. Does wealth measure success? I'm gonna I'm going to safely assume that the writer believes that no, and you can still be considered successful without having $1 million in your bank account. Cool. And there are other aspects which play a significant role to our success. And this one says, what makes a successful person? So there are other things that play. Okay. I buckled up. I'm ready to read and see what happens. One thing before we start, I want to go back and just point out is that this is called a two-part question in the IELTS community. But again, IELTS doesn't really care about the names. IELTS cares that this rubric has two main elements. And those two elements must be addressed and developed properly. And the quality that you developed the two parts really matter. Really matters to IELTS. So let's focus on the first body paragraph. Firstly, there is little room for doubt. Let me scroll up here. Firstly, there is little room for doubt that money is a contributing issue, because issue is countable, towards success. You can say toward or towards, both are acceptable. Towards is more British English. Toward without S is more American. Towards success. But it does not necessarily, with a different spelling, mean that people without money, therefore, are unsuccessful. That's a very good topic sentence. So in this paragraph, we're just going to say that wealth is not everything. Wealth cannot alone, all by itself, determine the value of an individual or a label that this individual is called successful or not. In other words, those people who enjoy a simple life and without overtaking specific physical or mental problems are successful without having a large amount of money, because amount is countable, a large amount of money and belongings. Good. That's the first reason. Those who have simpler lives are content, satisfied, yet they have a much simpler lives and their bank account doesn't have $1 million in it. I can stand behind this one. This is good. Take, for example, the comparison between developed and developing countries. Okay. All right. We talked about people, but then we merged all those people to countries. I can understand that, but this is I wouldn't do that. This is more this topic is more suited for an individual's success. The success of a nation, the success of a government depends on many other things. And if a government has $1 million in its bank account, it is considered poor, very poor. So that you see, the scale is very different. I know. You're telling me right now, Kasra, you brought up the topic of $1 million. Nobody was talking about $1 million. I know. I'm just saying you need to scale it a bit. You need to have a tool to measure what you can consider success. And once you know that, it's good for two things. Once you know your enemy, you can attack it better. And number two, you can come up with better vocabulary. You can come up with better paragraphs and better grammar when you have an actual objective topic to talk about. Going back to the example of countries. So take, for example, the comparison between developed and developing countries. Okay, I need a semicolon because this sentence was already all by itself. Done. Yet the message continues, so you don't need a full stop, you need a semicolon to show that the sentences before and after the semicolon are independent sentences or clauses, yet the message continues. So you, as the reader, should read the whole thing in one go. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. Take, for example, the comparison between developed and developing countries. Most Westerners would agree that people from developing countries are happier and thus more successful. This comma is correct. Enjoying stronger family connections and taking more pleasure in the simplicities of life to a greater extent than those in developed countries. Well said, beautifully put. I love this section. The example is really, really good. It's just not necessarily an example. You know, it's very generic, like the simplicities of life. Give me, now you should say, for instance. For instance, these people can just, they don't have to book, I don't know, a table at blah blah restaurant on the corner of blah blah street and blah blah street in downtown in advance. They can just write in on Sunday morning. They can, I mean, on Sunday in the morning, they can pack everything they have in the fridge, go on a picnic, and it's just like 40-minute drive to the nature. And that's just beautiful. And these people don't have $1 million in their bank account. Again, my example. All right. I like that, but I needed more development here. Another point to consider is that an why do you, we should now start answering the second question. The second question, what makes a successful person? So what criteria do we have to measure a person to be successful or not? Do we have anything? But this connector is telling me that, no, wait, we are still answering the previous question. I'm a little confused. Another point to consider is that an achievement developed through implementing acquired skills and knowledge is also a contributing factor towards success. I need to point out that this is very good grammar. It's interesting because this is reduced relative clause. An achievement which has been developed, and all of that is narrowed into, or has been shrunk to this word, developed through implementing acquired skills and knowledge, is also a contributing factor towards success. For instance, I'm not a fan of sorting your development by, for instance, by giving examples. We still need a little bit more information. Why is this another point? And it's very, very generic and very vague, unclear. A doctor doing a voluntary job in underdeveloped countries, the rewards of helping people and doing the job they are good at brings success in itself. I needed a better connector here, but especially between these two, because, all right, yeah, something like a doctor can do a voluntary job in underdeveloped countries, semicolon. The rewards that come from helping people and doing the job they're good at brings success in itself. That would have connected these two sentences correctly. Hence, success can be found in skills that people are trained for and through job satisfaction. Lastly, another factor influencing, so you are telling me that there is no topic sentence for this paragraph. This paragraph doesn't have a topic sentence. This is the first half of it with its own agenda. This is the second half of it with its own agenda. There is not a single sentence that acts as an umbrella term to cover both of these elements inside one paragraph. That is the role of a topic sentence, and it's not here. Another factor influencing success is having supportive and loving people around. Being surrounded by a loving and caring family is considered by many people, to be the most valuable, there's no then, the most valuable item. Yeah, there's another missing something. The most considered or maybe more valuable than any amount of money. Maybe that works. So instead of most or the most, you say more. To be more valuable than any amount of money. While money may bring opportunities to enjoy pleasures, few people would enjoy them on their own. Sorry, I misread it. My bad. Yeah, you might pick up some not very pleasant voices from me because I'm not pleased. I had high hopes. The first paragraph was very good, but the second paragraph is not a good paragraph. The messages are fine, but I'm mixed here. Some elements are answering the question, like, yeah, what defines a successful person? Well, we know if they're satisfied and they have a caring family around them, they're satisfied. But these are sentences that I'm generating. I'm connecting a loving family to success of an individual. Maybe the second one, the success is considered when you can apply the skills you acquired onto something that helps people. That can be another one. But both elements are not other points to the first question. They can be connected better to the second question. But the connection is left for me to figure out. Like the reader has to come up with the connection in his or her head. My job is to read. My job is not to write or fill in the missing sentences. Please keep that in your mind. Every time I have to come up with sentences to make sense between the sentences in front of me and the things that I should receive, every time I do that, you lose marks. Really. Please take a very good care of this part. Be mindful of this. Every time I have to generate sentences in my head to make sense between the things that I am looking at and the things I need or I was supposed to get as the message in my head. Every time that happens, you lose marks one way or another. So be as clear as possible. Don't leave anything to chance. In conclusion, while wealthiness, the state of being wealthy, probably, again, another risky word. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully by the year you're watching this word has already entered dictionaries. Hopefully. I love this word, but it's a risky move. Some might accept it as a legitimate, correct word. Some might say it has not yet found its way into dictionaries, so maybe you're mistaken. That's risky. While wealthiness and luxury goods possession is considered by some as a success-defining aspect, I need a hyphen here between success and defining because it's a compound adjective. It's an adjective for the word aspect. So a success defining aspect. There are other more important factors through which success can be found. This is a very good sentence. If more people strived in life towards true feeling of success rather than money, the world would be a better place. Second conditional. So the world is not a good place because sadly people would like to see $1 million in their bank accounts. 312 words. I know you're probably shouting at your screen right now that, like, get rid of the $1 million, Kasra. So 312 words. Let's look at the band descriptors together. Okay, great. Now, the first and foremost, I need to say there are a couple of faulty connections in this essay. Very beautiful sentences, but they are not connected well. And some discourse markers are misleading. It shouldn't be like that. So faulty cohesive devices. I also have to say the paragraphing has an issue. The second body paragraph, it's the third paragraph after introduction. If you count introduction and then the first body paragraph, the second body paragraph, that's the one. That body paragraph needs a topic sentence. It doesn't have a topic sentence. And it is misleading, especially at the beginning, that I think that I'm reading still on the previous topic, while it should be about the second question. Uses paragraphing, but not always logically, exactly. And as I said, and there are some referencing issues where you wanted me to join. There we go. But the logic is quite clear, and there is a clear progression because you're talking about the individual. I can feel the progression in the second body paragraph, but there's a stretch. There was a stretch. That leads us to the task response. You see, yeah, some parts are more fully covered than others. I feel the first question received a lot of attention, more than the second question. Plus, we went from a person and an individual success to countries, developed countries, and then people. And those transitions were not defined very well. And some of the ideas, you were with me, some of the ideas needed more work. We had an example, which wasn't an example, which was more explanation. And then we needed an example, but the example wasn't there. Or in the second body paragraph, we had an example as an explanation, which is basically very difficult. Guys, we're not Ernest Hemingways. We're not that skilled writers yet. So when you write, it's always better to work on clarity, to bet on clarity, to be clearer than just coming up with some fancy structures that maybe you understand only. So this is a very good case for vocabulary, grammar, advanced grammatical points. Even the advanced grammatical points, the majority of them were error-free. And generally, we didn't have many grammar mistakes. The vocabulary was very, very, very clear and great. We generally didn't have many. We only had maybe some occasional vocabulary errors, not much. But this essay cannot go any further than this because of the structural issues that the paragraphs had. Work on your paragraphs. They are going to be the building blocks of your representatives. And your representatives can be letters, reports, essays, I don't know, whichever they are. Make sure that they are going to do the job absolutely well. On that note, I wish you a lovely day ahead.